You're watching CN2 News. Two Chester County principals wanted to make a difference during the pandemic. They started Create and Educate LLC to help educators and parents during some tough times. They're focusing on literacy and leadership. CN2's R.E.A.L.L. Jackson has more on how they're helping the community.
Create and Educate, we are a consulting firm that works with educators as well as entrepreneurs. So with the side where we're working with educators, we offer professional development on literacy as well as implicit bias. We work with leaders and leadership teams to help improve schools.
They've been surviving pandemic education by offering tips for school leaders, teachers, and parents.
We really want to see kids through the trajectory, graduating from high school, ready to go to college or to start a career or to go into the military.
Create and Educate has multiple community partners in the area that read books to children weekly, discuss literature, and express their support for the education system. Recently, the owners were featured for Amazon's #1 best-selling book entitled Women Who Lead in Education.
And so we are super, super excited because we're amongst a family of women leaders who are absolutely extraordinary. So it's an honor to have been asked to participate. And then even more of an honor now that the book has gone on sale and it became a #1 bestseller. So you don't have to be a school leader to have leadership qualities.
Collectively, both Tammy Taylor, principal of Great Falls Elementary, and Dr. Sheka Houston, principal of Chester Middle School, have 40 years of service in education. They have learned the need in their community, and they plan to
serve all children in all communities. And one of the things that we enlighten people about in our professional development with literacy is that sometimes it's hard for children to connect to text because they don't see themselves in text. Providing that culturally relevant literature for students, and that's not just African American students, that's all students. Every student at every school should be able to see themselves in a book, in a text, to be able to connect with it.
Surviving pandemic education together in Chester, R.E.A.L.L. Jackson, CN2 News.
Again, their goal is to help connect educators, parents, community members, and authors each week to help better navigate the pandemic. To learn.
Great Saturday, everyone. Welcome to the R.E.A.L.L. Academy. I'm Dr. Sheka Houston, and my trustmate in education, Dr. Tammy Taylor, and I are bringing you some information this morning in the R.E.A.L.L. Academy. And as you heard, this is brought to you by Create and Educate. We are a literary and consulting firm, and our R.E.A.L.L. acronym, if you look up top of the screen here and see our framework, it starts with the door. And we created this framework to help our schools improve. Mine from unsatisfactory to average in 1 year, Tammy's from unsatisfactory to good in 1 year, to help us through that school improvement process. And we want to pay it forward. We want to help other leaders. So we are working with schools and leaders to help you all through the school improvement process and just to improve and impact children positively anywhere in the U.S. So that first R in R.E.A.L.L. is respect, excellence, accountability, literacy, and numeracy, and leadership. So today we're going to be telling you how our R.E.A.L.L. acronym can engage students and relates to the work that Tammy has done with her dissertation of Africana womanism, and just show you how that framework could also engage students and help people in the community help our students. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning, Sheka, and good morning, everybody. Welcome. Happy Saturday.
And before we officially get started, we just want to definitely send our condolences and just express the sadness of the thing that's trending right now in the news and on social media with the murder of Tyree Nichols. A lot of people have posted, that they have watched the video and some are posting that they're not watching the video. But the beating and by the Black officers was definitely something that should not have happened, and nothing that we ever want to see happen to any person. But this is especially becoming a trend in the African American community, as if our lives are dispendable. So you know again, it's we don't want to put a damper on anything, but we do have to bring light to the fact that these are the stories that we need to be working on changing the narrative to. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything about it,
Just
Tammy.
my sincerest condolences to the families
Mhm.
of all involved, and prayers for us as a nation to kind of get this right.
Yes, because we haven't so far. And the Africana womanism framework, if you have not watched the past 2 weeks, we've introduced it, and it is family centered. So you can be thrown off by the title womanism and think that it's only for women, but it actually combines the family, the community, women and men working together for change, for things like what we just talked about. So where we left off, and this is the characteristic of spiritual, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we're saying that everybody has to subscribe to a certain spirituality, but that there's a recognition that there's a belief in a supreme being. So the construct actually validates that existence, and that definitely is a part of who we are. And this is one reason why I subscribe to the framework, because my spirituality drives everything that I do.
And a part of, just in line with what Sheka was saying, a major part of African womanism is faith. And as Sheka said, that just being able to know that we connect to with a supreme being, and we know where our help comes from. And that's part of the reality of the African American family and the Africana community. Just as she said before, to define that paradigm is important for us, because Dr. Clenora Hudson Weems put forth the paradigm as a way to provide that focus on the family that's important in Africana communities. And if you are wondering, like, when you say, why did she come up with this paradigm? You have to just go back to what a paradigm is. It's that whole system of beliefs and ideas and values and habits that is a way that we think about what's happening in the real world. And so that paradigm, as Sheka said, is family centered. And at the center of many of our families are our elders, which leads us to that sixth characteristic, and that is to be respectful of elders. And this is very common throughout Africana communities, because in the Africana family, there is true respect for the elders and the wisdom that they possess. Having that high level of regard and respect for those who are older than us allows in our community for cross generational relationships that really provide strength to the community. It's not odd for you to see friendships across generations, because we have such a love and respect for the elders in our community.
Most definitely. And a common theme that you hear now about today's generation is people talk about the lack of respect, but respect has to be taught. I was taught at home to respect my elders. Um, I was taught to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. I was taught to look people in the eyes. So these things have to be taught. They're just not something that, children are naturally going to do. And it starts at home with the family and continues as children go into school. So the seventh characteristic is adaptable. And Dr. Clenora Hudson Weems defines this as being adaptable for the Africana woman. It transcends most boundaries of having to be adaptable and possessing the ability to monitor and adjust. Such adaptability allows for the Africana womanist to take a licking and keep on ticking, according to her. And to me, that just speaks to the resilience. And we definitely that's something that we definitely have, and that's something that we definitely have to teach our children, and building them up to be resilient, and teaching them who they truly are authentically, and making sure that they can identify with the right images and the right perceptions of themselves, so they can continue even when things are not going well, to move on in a positive direction.
Yeah, and like Sheka said, it's the nature of the Africana woman is to just monitor and adjust. This isn't working, so I need to um, pivot, and so we're really good at balancing that. The next two characteristics, which are 8 and 9, usually are referenced together, and those are mothering and nurturing. And it in the paradigm is defined to describe the Africana womanist as being a nurturer by nature. And it's just the commitment that the Africana woman has to the art of mothering and nurturing her own children in particular, but then humankind in general. You'll see the Africana woman wanting to get things fixed and just to be in there to help solve problems and to take care of children, because mothering and nurturing includes the genuine care that's given to children and families. And the beauty, though, of the way she describes mothering and nurturing is it isn't necessarily connected to a concept of the biological connection of a female who has to be a mother. You could be mothering and nurturing and never have birthed a child. So it isn't tied to the biological concept of mothering, but it just represents that we truly do care about the seed, and we want to cultivate, nurture, and genuinely care for what's going on. And as Sheka said before, teach our offspring and these generations that are following us that without the respect that is necessary in that vein of making sure that we are together and collectively working together, we will never progress as far as we can go as a people.
Definitely, Tammy. And just to add to that, with me, and I know in my family, um, of course, I'm the mother and the nurturer, and sometimes I do go a little bit overboard with that. And so my husband is the balance, where I'm running around trying to do all of these different things, and he's like, "Why don't you let the girls help with some of these things?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's true." And so, that recognition of that, but also that the men being a part of this as well, help provide the balance to that, and also nurture children as well, because they nurture children in a different way than women do. So
True.
the 10th characteristic is strong, and this means brave and having the courage to lead in the midst of calamity, but not subscribing to that thought of the misunderstood myth of the strong Black woman, where we're able to just take anything and not feel pain. Not in that sense, because those things were contrived. Um, through racism, if we really want to be honest. But this is just saying that we have that courage to lead. And even though something may be difficult, we do have the strength to carry through with our resilience, but we can still also be vulnerable. So it doesn't mean that it's feeding into that myth at all.
Right. And being a strong Black woman doesn't have to be connected to that. And that's one of the things I think that comes out of this. Like we don't always have to see being a strong Black woman as something that is painted as a negative picture of who we are. Like you said, in the myth that, oh, she can take it because that nobody even recognizes. And remember, we shared that clip of the psychologist talking about how who's even paying attention. Like I'm sad and I'm crying and nobody even sees me. Like they don't even recognize that I have tears because of that myth that has been put forth for generations, that we are strong and we can take it because of that strength. But I love what Dr. Hudson Weems has done with that, because we are strong and we are brave and courageous, and we do have the resiliency to bounce back in the midst of calamity. But we still are human, and we are women who feel pain and feel hurt, feel shame, and everything else that comes with that. So I think that's a really strong one. Do you want to go on to the, I think we probably should stop because the mental compatibility one is a really long one. And we don't want to get in the way of Principal Kafele. And as you guys can see, we've recorded this morning. So we are not live because we are working on our 9-to-5 job today. And we have to be at a function this morning during our time to actually be with you all. So we're sorry that we missed you live, but hopefully everybody enjoys, and we will be back with you next Saturday.
Definitely. And we are both wearing yellow. We didn't even plan that. So you all have a great rest of your Saturday. Please remember to log on with Principal Kafele. He will be having a dynamic speaker today that we'll go back and watch the replay, The Boss Educator. And on Sunday, make sure that you tune in with Dean and Josh on Unlock the Middle. And before us, hopefully you tuned in and saw Principal Sean Hurt from Detroit, Michigan. He always has great information to share. I think he's still talking about the engagement strategies for African or all children really in schools. So log on with Principal Hurt, and we will see you all next Saturday.
And guys, if y'all didn't see, we were able to be on with those gentlemen last Saturday, which was a phenomenal experience. So if you haven't seen that, of course we were there, but I went back to see it, and it actually was very impactful, because you have some really, really powerful people who are pouring into us all. And so catch that replay of last week. I think it'll really bless you.
And as Tammy said, she went back and rewatched it. Sometimes people don't realize that when they're live, that you can still go back and watch the videos. And Principal Kafele and us, we're on YouTube as well, and Twitter and LinkedIn. So don't use this to build yourself, but also use it where you need another voice. If you need something for your PD and you get it down to a certain clip to where you want someone else's voice to say something, at a point that you're trying to drive home, use these for that. I mean, it's free content that you can use. And sometimes hearing someone else say something resonates differently with people. Definitely. So don't just just keep building yourself, build your people too, because they definitely need that help, especially in these times. But you all enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We are Create and Educate, and we'll be back with you next Saturday at 10:30.
All right, guys.